Hi and welcome back to the AVG Academy. I'm Michael. We're going to look now at the 5 top tips on cloud file storage providers. And what I've done is I've broken the top tips here into 2 categories. The first 3 tips are around choosing a cloud file storage provider, and then the last 2 tips I've got for you are around securing your account and how to make sure that your files are nice and safe and secure. So let's get started. So first of all, choosing a cloud file storage provider. Now, the first tip here is around understanding what you want to use the cloud file storage provider for. Is it for home use, or is it for business, or maybe even a small business use, something that's a little bit more critical than perhaps personal use? Really understand the difference between these two, because there are plenty of free cloud storage providers available which are great for home and personal use. But if you're storing really critical files and things that are perhaps dependent on your earning an income, then you maybe want to look at paying for a subscription to a cloud storage provider so that you get some service level guarantees around the storage of those files. So that's the first tip. Understand, is it home or business, and whether you need to pay for a service or whether you can get by with a free provider or not. The second thing that I want to look at is, what's your reason for using a cloud storage provider? Think of the top 2 or 3 reasons why you need to store files in the cloud, because many of the different providers such as Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, even things like Evernote, and even services like Flickr are all designed to store files for different purposes. Some of them are very heavily weighted towards storing photographs and media clips, videos and things like this. Other cloud storage file providers are really good at sharing files between different computers and devices. Have a think about what's your main criteria, and then as you look at the list of providers, see if they match up to what your expectations are around being fit for purpose, or fit for your purpose at least. Now, the third thing we want to look at here is what sort of encryption the provider actually gives you. The reason this is really important, particularly if you're very privacy savvy, is that you might want to make sure that your files are encrypted on your device or your computer before they're actually transmitted and stored with the cloud provider. The reason this is important is that if the cloud provider is compromised or hacked into, then your files could potentially be at risk. Privacy savvy users these days are looking at services where the files are encrypted before they're uploaded. And of course, this provides you with a little bit of peace of mind around knowing that if the provider did get compromised, your files still would be useless to the person who has them, and only you can decrypt them because you have the encryption keys. So that's really worth looking at, and if you are privacy savvy, make sure you're looking at a provider that does this and has some guarantees around how that encryption works. So let's move on now to the last 2 tips, and these are around securing your cloud account and making sure that you have a strong, secure and unique password for your cloud storage account is absolutely critical. But what's even more critical is making sure that you activate and enable any extra security features, such as notifications when someone logs in, and things like 2-factor authentication, sometimes called 2-step verification, to ensure that you're providing those extra locks to prevent others from accessing the account. We've got more information for you in the AVG Academy on 2-factor authentication for you to review as well in your own time. Now, the last and 5th tip here, again under the security of your account, is around whether you need to back up the files in your cloud account or not. Now, some people are using cloud file storage providers to actually back up their files in the first place. If you're intending to do that, you probably don't need to worry too much about this. However, if you are storing critical files, things that are really important to you, in only one cloud account, you do need to make sure that you have adequate backups just in case the worst happens and the cloud provider has an issue and they do lose your files. Now, it's a rare and unlikely event, but absolutely backup and a backup strategy, particularly for businesses, is something you need to never ignore and always make sure you're prepared for. So congratulations, you've just learned what the 5 tips for choosing and securing a cloud file storage account are all about. Thanks for joining us at the AVG Academy, and we'll see you next time.